I'm Tracy Matthews. I am the liaison to the Campbell County Chamber of Commerce Business and Advocacy Committee. We're talking with Janaia Hyland, who's running for Campbell County Sheriff. Thanks for being here, Janaia.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd ask that you introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Janaia Hyland, and I am running for sheriff this year here in Campbell County. I have lived in Campbell County for over 41 years. I first moved to Campbell County with my mom, my stepdad, and my two brothers. I started the second grade here in Gillette, and I went through school here and graduated in Campbell County. I have been here ever since. Shortly after graduation, I graduated in 1992 from Campbell County High School. I started with the sheriff's office as a detention officer in 1993 in the spring. Worked there for a couple of years, and I transferred to the patrol side, operations division, and was a patrol deputy for several years. When I was in that operations division, I did several different duties, such as patrol deputy, general investigations, narcotic investigations, DARE. I was a field training officer for many years, and I eventually supervised that program and oversaw the trainers and the trainees, making sure that we had quality people working on our streets and providing the services we needed for Campbell County. I became a supervisor of some sort in the early 2000s, working my way up through the ranks, and when I retired in 2020, I was at the rank of sergeant. And at the rank of sergeant, you're in charge of people assigned to you, whether it be investigations or patrol shifts. I was in charge of both. So I have a very wide experience when it comes to law enforcement, for first front lines and also the investigations. So I've dealt a lot with investigating and also supervising those type of cases, such as crimes against people, crimes against properties, narcotics investigations, and also homicides. I feel that with my experience and the leadership that I've had in law enforcement and with the sheriff's office here, that I wanted to put out my ideas and my leadership style for the community to have a choice on who they elect as their next sheriff.
So Janaia, outline your goals for this office and why you are running.
Okay. My goals for this office and why I'm running is my first and top priority is and will be public safety. Building community relationships, leadership for our officers, men and women in law enforcement and at the sheriff's office, employee welfare. I believe if you take care of your employees, they take better care of your community.
What are the most pressing issues for the office of sheriff?
I believe the most pressing issues for the office of sheriff is what I outlined with my goals. And to speak a little bit further about that with public safety and building community relationships, I think that is one of the most pressing issues. You kind of see, with our what's going on in our nation, just that detached from law enforcement. And I believe we have to build trust. And through trust, what I believe is communicating with the public, having different things that can build community relationships. Some of the things that I would look at to build those relationships and the trust and public safety is by having an open door type policy where anybody could come into my office, talk with me about issues or concerns and suggestions to better run our office. After all, if you are a sheriff, you should be providing an ear to listen to your community and also to your officers to make our service better and stronger. Some of the things that I would look at, besides just the open door policy where people could come in and talk with me, is by having open meetings or forums a couple times a year to where it either be hosted at the sheriff's office or maybe the town of Wright or some of the other communities we have here in Campbell County to talk about, address concerns, and just kind of have an open house to where we build those relationships up. Another thing that I would like to implement, if budget allows, is something that we had quite a while ago when I first started law enforcement, and that was called the Citizens Police Academy. Through that, people got that education about what we do, and it kind of gave them that insight to learn more about us, learn different areas of services we provide, and then they had a better understanding. And then I believe it really helped mend relationships and build them stronger. Another thing that I would probably implement too, budget allowing, is having a rural patrol, to where people and our deputies are going out and meeting with the community in the rural areas and driving the county roads and being there present and communicating with them. I think we have lost sight sometimes. We get really busy. Things are just evolving to where it's hard to stay caught up, but that is something that we've had in the past, and I have heard a lot of positive feedback from people in the rural areas that the presence is wanted and needed. One of my other goals for the office was the employee welfare and the leadership within the sheriff's office. Like I said, I believe if you take care of your employees, they're going to be taking better care of our community. So a lot of that has to do with the leadership quality that they have, and make sure that they're getting the trainings that are up to date and with what we need for our current trends that we're seeing. And also the mental health of the officers, making sure that we're there, we're supporting them, we're getting them the care and what they need in their equipment, with their pay, and in general, just overseeing and being ahead of the game versus trying to catch up all the time. Another thing I feel that would bring that up is being held accountable and holding people accountable and being more transparent in those areas.
So Janaia, what experience do you have with big budgets, and how are you equipped to handle such a large budget?
So my experience with large budgets such as the sheriff's office, I don't have the experience in that, so to speak. However, looking at elected officials, when they do get elected into office, such as sheriff, a lot of times history shows they did not have the experience with a large budget. And when we're speaking about the sheriff's office budget, you're looking at an $18 to $20 million budget. What I would do is use the people that are there. We have financial specialists and managers at the sheriff's office, and that is one of their main duties, is to work on the budget, present the budget, and the sheriff oversees that transaction happening and scrutinizes that budget and looks at it and approves it. If I am elected, I plan on being very careful with taxpayer dollars, scrutinizing that budget and making sure that we're within control of our spending and we're not being too frivolous. With that budget in mind, I would be more transparent. From some of my research and different things with running for office and in the past, is when you go to look at the sheriff's office budget and the annual reports that the county provides citizens on the website, you're not seeing where those dollars are going. You're just seeing something else, of what they've done throughout the year. But when you look at the other departments inside the county, it shows what they brought in for their budget, or what was budgeted, what they brought in if there was revenue in that area, and what they spent, and then maybe some other expenditures. And when you go to look at that, you're not seeing that. One has to do a public records request and know exactly what those budgets are called in order to get that information. My plan as sheriff would be to put that more into the public light, to say, hey, this is how much we budgeted for. This is where our money went, such as if in the detention center, inmates' food, inmates' clothing, what we spent on officers' training, wages on the patrol side, training, fuel, and other costs that we have day to day, so people could be educated and realize what we're doing at the sheriff's office, so they're not like, oh, man, where did that $20 million go? We understand where it went if we are more transparent and listing those things in more of an itemized type form.
Thank you. How will you work to make the Campbell County Sheriff's Office deputies better suited to handle people with mental illness?
So mental illness is a huge issue all over the nation, but especially here in our community. We have a lot of suicide in this community that I think we need to really have a better approach at. What we've done in the past just isn't working to identify people early on. I believe we need to have a community approach. It's not just one agency or one specific group, but I think we need to work together. I think we need all to come together, talk at a table, and make some better plans from what's going. Because what we've had in the past isn't working. But I've looked into a few different things, and I do believe that if we had more training for law enforcement officers, such as a critical incident team, where you're not just having the officer go to the door and figure out, hey, is this person a danger to themselves, a danger to society, and can they care for themselves? Because those are kind of the three factors that you're looking at when we do have a mental health call. And a lot of times, the only two places that we have to go in our community is to the hospital or to jail. And so if they're not committing a crime, they're not going to be going to jail. And if they're not a danger to themselves or others and can't care for themselves, we can't tread on their rights. So would I see a benefit to having a CIT type response team program is we can have people come in, a trained counselor, come in with a law enforcement officer in a safe zone and talk with the people, maybe address some concerns and see some things that they might need to have some extra help or resources with, to where we identify those problems early so they have a better mental health plan for themselves, to where maybe we can bring some of this suicide rates down. So in Wyoming, there are a couple agencies that have already implemented this program, and I hear, and I've spoken with some people in our community that are in the mental health field and also law enforcement field, and they're starting to want to work on this program, which I would fully support if I was to be elected as sheriff, and work with people and make sure that we're getting in that right direction for our mental health.
And lastly, Janaia, is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you would like the citizens of Campbell County to know about you?
Yes, I do. I have spent over 26 years in law enforcement working on the front lines in emergency services. I believe I have a fresh perspective that I bring to the office to better represent our law enforcement community and our community as well. I have worked a lot of shift work in my time. I've missed a lot of family holidays, birthdays, so I understand the working conditions that our men and women face. I also believe that having term limits would be a benefit in law enforcement with the sheriff's office, because if you have term limits, you're always revolving your experience and you're getting people that are in the entry levels of law enforcement experience, leadership training, to where they're building up. I'm a firm believer that if you train your replacement, they're going to be taking better care of your community. I have seen so many agencies to where you have administrations that sit there for sometimes decades and they don't train the replacement. So when your command staffs are all getting ready to retire within the same amount of time of the others, you have a lot of people with not the experience and the level of leadership that is needed to take our community to where we need to be, and it creates a void. So if I am elected, I will stick to my term limit of up to 2 and work on building the leadership in our office to where people can actually feel secure with the new leadership coming in. I would really appreciate your vote on August 16th, 2022. Thank you for taking the time and watching this video.